Hello, everyone, and welcome to Your Cup of Joy. I'm your host, Ariana Joy Christie, and I am so glad that you are here. This is a space to inspire, to learn, to grow, and to challenge. Get ready to fill your cup and spread a little joy along the way. Okay, Phil Mackenzie, former professional rugby player, founder of the Leansquad, at-home fitness training, and father to 4 boys, 7 and under. And I'll probably just add that you're the most real dad on the internet. Welcome to Your Cup of Joy. Thank you so much for joining me.
I'm excited to be here.
Oh, I'm so happy to have you. So I'm going to jump right into it. Phil, I feel like I first saw you. I know exactly the video. It was you and your wife, Brody, carrying your twins. Your son was in front of you guys. I think you were at a cottage. You had some beers in your hands. There was beer everywhere. Hudson was spraying his water gun, and it said, "When the fun parents show up to the kids' party." Immediately, I think my brother sent it to me. I sent it to my husband. I had just had the twins, and I was like, guys, life is going to get better. Like, this is okay. We're okay to have the kids and have some fun. So, at what point did you decide, okay, I think I want to share my life on the internet and make these videos?
Oh, wow. Well, we're definitely rewinding the clock, and I'm going to show
Yeah,
my age here because I think it's always the reality is it's always a lot longer than you think.
totally.
And I think my foray officially on Instagram started when I retired from rugby. So this was
Mhm.
at 30. I'm 37 now, so 7 years ago. Um, and like most athletes, I had absolutely no idea what I was going to do post professional career. Even though I knew the end was looming for me, I didn't give it much thought. And then it hit me like a ton of bricks.
Oh,
And um, the goal for us was to build a house. We were like, we'll tear down a house, even though I had no building experience whatsoever, and
oh
I'll
my
become
gosh.
a general contractor. And I had to lay a silt fence. Like basically, you had to dig around the house and around your property line and lay this fence. And the moment I did that, I was like, "Oh my god, this is not for me." No disrespect to anyone who does it. My granddad, if you've ever seen him, he's been in that industry and business his entire life. So the utmost respect, but it just wasn't for me. So
Totally.
I walked away from that pretty quickly, and then I started training just friends and family while I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. And I quickly, converted my parents' garage while we were building our house. That's where we were staying, into a gym, and then started training a ton of people working, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. every
Wow.
single day. And as I was doing that, I figured the best way to kind of reach more people was to post it on Instagram. And then while I was doing the in-person training, develop a online program. And that was really my goal. And then 6 months later, I was super fortunate. I was fully online, wasn't training in person
Wow.
anymore. And that's kind of, that was, I guess 6, 7 years ago now.
Incredible. That's wild. So you just had like in your insight you wanted to put it all online because I feel like a lot of trainers are just in person and now there's been this trend towards more online.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I was, I wouldn't say early because there
Yeah.
were trainers doing it beforehand, but I think I realized the potential of social media. Obviously, again, there was a lot of people already doing it,
Mhm.
um, but for me, I wanted to try it. I wanted to give it my best shot, and I had been doing a little online training, I guess, because when we were living in England, I was playing professional rugby.
Mm.
And I got married to Brody. We're gonna have our wedding, and so it was my bachelor party. All of my friends in Canada wanted to get lean for the bachelor party. And
Stop.
that's, yeah. So that was the first online program I had ever made. This would have been like I guess 10 years. It's nearly 10 years this summer. So it would have been 10 years ago. I created like an online program that they did while I was
Wow.
in England. And then we all, long story short, went to Vegas and they were all looking amazing. And that was kind of when I had a little bit of experience with the online capabilities, I guess, so to speak.
That's so cool. So pre-kids, you were already kind of posting online, doing this work online. And
Yeah.
then I feel like you had kids and shared everything. So what made that transition? I mean, I love it. I think it's as a parent, I find like I'm reassured by your content all the time.
I think
But what drove that?
I think that's honestly the number one comment. Most people, someone came up to me yesterday when we were out. They're like, "I just want to let you know your content makes me feel so much better about myself." And I'm like, I
Yeah.
think that's a good thing.
Yeah, totally.
Um, no, I don't know. I guess it's been like an evolution. When I first started posting, it was all about fitness,
Mhm.
and I think I never wanted to be like a hardcore fitness person because right when we started this, we had Hudson, and I quickly realized that or I certainly no longer had 3 hours to work out a day. Like a lot of
Mhm.
the, again, no disrespect to the people you see online, but the reality for parents, in my experience, is they don't have all of this time to
Yeah.
spend in the gym to do the X, Y, and Z every single day,
Mhm.
like a lot of trainers do online without kids. So um, I realized that reality pretty quick,
Mhm.
and then I think I just wanted to kind of, I don't really. I think COVID kind of spurred on the really
True.
like the family stuff when we had the twins right during COVID. Like we went into the hospital and we came out and it was lockdown.
Crazy.
And so I think I got to be really in like, it was kind of a blessing in disguise because I got to be really involved
Mhm.
in the twins. Hudson, I wasn't so much involved in his day to day. Realistically, I was kind of working in the gym all day. I would see him for a second. Brody would do everything, all of the parenting, and in hindsight, that was a big regret of mine not being
Yeah.
more around. And again, the twins during COVID, having them, it was kind of the biggest blessing in disguise because I had no choice. There was
Mhm.
nothing going on in the world. I was there. We had no family, no friends. It was just Brody and I, the twins, and Hudson. And so, kind of being a part of that, I really, really enjoyed. And then I think gradually just started sharing a little bit more and more. And as they got older, life got a little crazier, and tried to
Yeah.
show, I think, again, like fitness, I try and show the realities of fitness, not things that I don't think are necessarily realistic in everyone's life.
Mhm.
And the same goes for parenting. So that's kind of why we share, like, kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly sometimes.
Totally. I love that. And it's so interesting for me to hear your perspective because I feel like I talk to a lot of moms, but I don't always talk to a lot of dads. So I only really have my partner's experience to understand and to go off of. And it's hard as a mom because I empathize with other moms. I understand what they're going through. I feel the things that they're feeling. And often I have a perception that I feel like about dads, but I don't actually know. So, like, what's your favorite part of being a dad, and what is one of the biggest challenges that you face?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would start with the challenges. I think,
Mhm.
now that our oldest is 7, we have, 4. I think with
Yeah.
Ashton is kind of like our youngest, who's a year and a half now. I think he makes me reflect a lot more on my parenting, being a dad. And I think my biggest regrets are probably these old kind of, I don't know if I'd call them like mannerisms. You kind of think like, I certainly did with Hudson. I can like vividly feel and remember. It's like, my job is to be like the provider, pay the
Mhm.
bills, you know, and if I do that, that's really kind of, that's it. That's
Yep.
that's I've checked off my list. And I think in hindsight, like if I'm being truthfully honest, that's what I did. And it kind of kills me because I know I can't get a lot of that time back. Like I'm way more present with Ashton now.
Aw.
I want to get him up first thing in the morning. I love putting him down to bed. If I have to take a break from work in the middle of the day to help out, this has been a progression, by the way, a long progression. So it's not like this just happened. But those are the things like I'm really trying to be involved in and enjoy the parenting journey, versus, again, I think a lot of dads, like, and I'm speaking for dads as a whole probably, but I know certainly dads I know, it's like if they got to work hard, and if they do that, that's it. If they pay the bills, the mortgage, XYZ, the kind of job of parenting is done. And I think
Mhm.
ultimately, I think you'll regret it. I know I do. I did. And again, I think the twins really forced my hand. And then after COVID, like I got really kind of like Leansquad got really big, and we hired, I think at the time we had like 11 employees.
Wow.
And I kind of fell back into the trap of like, it's work, work, work. That's my job. That's my job.
Mhm.
But now I try and really focus on being like a dad first, a partner to Brody is, really a big part of it as well. And work, honestly, I think you can put it further down the totem pole without like giving up. Like I used to be a professional athlete. I think I always thought it was like all or nothing, but I've
Mhm.
learned, I can do like 80% of my work with much less stress and anxiety,
Mhm.
um, and accept the better balance. And I think it's way better. Like I feel way better on a daily basis. Work is going really well. But most importantly, I get to do like every day I look at Ashton, I'm like, oh man, I really want to make the most this time because he's our last one. And I think it puts it in perspective.
Totally. It really does. And I think that's so relatable, both for moms and for dads. Like, it's nice for me to hear that perspective from you. But I think it's so important. Like, I read a thing just a little while ago about how this generation of dads is the most involved generation of dads that there ever has been. And it's so true. Like, I talk to my grandparents often. They're people that I look up to so much, and he was a farmer. So like he had never even changed a diaper. Like now I joke to him about changing like my kids, his great grandkids diapers. He's like, I don't know how to do that. Like it just wasn't that wasn't part of his life. And now I think it's so special that it's becoming almost like more normal and more encouraged, I think, for both sets of parents to be involved, both partners. And I just love that. I love that message that you're putting out there. And I think it is encouraging for people to really prioritize time with their children because it is so, so limited.
Yeah, I think that really is, again, I'd be like, it's like watching time pass by with our other three so much older now and on the move. And
Mhm.
then Ashton kind of is like, I would say like a do over for sure with Hudson,
Oh, yeah.
and it's really special. And if there was dads out there who haven't had it, their firstborn yet, hopefully they can make the most of it because it's you're never guaranteed another day or another child or whatever the case
Mhm.
is. So trying to make the most of it's really important, I think.
Totally. And I don't know about you, but Callie is our last too. And I just find, I don't know if it's because she's the third child and there's other toddlers around, but like her baby phase was so short and so small. Like when the twins were babies, I was like, is this ever going to end? And with her, I'm like, okay, were you ever a baby? Like they just do things so fast.
I know, yeah. Ashton is like trying to do everything with the three other boys,
It's
and I know,
wild.
yeah, it's gonna be. I think you blink and he'll be, a full grown boy, and
Yeah.
it'll be all over.
It's so crazy. I really love how you said that your relationship with Brody is a priority too, though, because I think as parents, we like we just put work and our kids first. Those seem to be the two priorities. We leave ourselves and then we leave our relationships last. And I think that's where a lot of um, like a lot of our emotions come from and are rooted in is we're missing those two pieces. So, how do you and Brody prioritize that time together and prioritize your relationship?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I think again, it's been like an evolution. I think from probably not definitely not prioritizing enough. I think again, work, especially I think for guys, and I'm sure for women, but can be so consuming, and you just like you think that's the be all end all.
Mhm.
I wrote a post recently, but it was we were in Hawaii, we had Hudson, and I was just like every minute of that entire trip, I was thinking about work. And it's really hard to find the balance. And not only do you neglect probably your parenting duties, but also, your partner's duties, like you said, and making time uninterrupted, being present
Mhm.
and making extra efforts. So, recently, again, it's an evolution and something I've really wanted to work on is we trying to do day dates. Realistically, we don't
I
have
love.
the time to go out at night, and
Yeah.
so we'll play tennis. We'll try and squeeze like an hour tennis date, or go for a coffee or a walk. And again, it's hard because days go by fast, time goes by
So
fast,
fast.
and before you know it, like I think last week we did get one day date, but it's easy to miss. And if you
Mhm.
miss them consecutively, before you know it, you're right back to where you were before. So I think really making that effort. On Thursday, we booked something in the calendar, which we're excited about, and in the middle of the day, and that's kind of something we've both been focusing on, because it's just, you know what it's like. It's impossible to
Yeah,
get a good word in, or if you give your partner a hug and you've got screaming kids in between you, it's it's more stressful than anything. So
totally.
yeah, I think just making an effort, it can look different in every way. It might be a workout together. It might be if you do have time at night, taking the time to go do something. Anything helps though.
Yeah. Something that I like to share with my community online and also just practice with my partner too is that date nights don't have to be like elaborate. They don't need to cost money. They don't need to be at night, like we say date night, but a date can be anything. And so um my husband and I have started playing games together. Like we bought like sequins or like play cards. And it sounds so old. Like I'm like, am I my grandmother? But
Yeah.
it's my favorite time. Like, leave the phones inside. Now that it's nice out, we put our little fire table on and we just play a game together. And those are some of my favorite nights. And it doesn't cost anything. You don't need a babysitter. You don't need anything.
Yeah, no, I think that's the important message. It's like, it doesn't have to be elaborate. It doesn't have to be, all the bells and whistles. And I think often,
Mhm.
often it's like the little ones that really make a big difference and give you a chance to connect. So I totally agree with that.
Amazing. Yeah, I love that. So, Your Cup of Joy is the podcast name, the name of this podcast. And it came to be kind of because I just feel like I have this mission to support people, especially moms, I think, in practicing self care. I think I kind of lost myself, not kind of, I 1000% lost myself in motherhood. I had 3 kids very, very fast, and I used to be very career driven. And then I just felt like I didn't know who I was. I had lost a lot of my friendships and relationships because my time was fully spent with children. Also, the pandemic obviously plays a huge layer in that. We gave birth during the pandemic too. And so there just wasn't even the ability to have access to human beings and relationships and friendships. And so I lost myself and I was searching for things to find who I was again. And so I just think that self-care is so, so, so important. And sometimes has a weird overlaying, like we think it has to be something. Like, for instance, I sometimes you think self-care, people think, "Oh, I have to go to a spa. Like, I have to spend all this money. I have to have a full day." I don't really love going to the spa. Like, then I'm all in my thoughts. I like to be doing other things. So I just think I want that message to be that it can look different for people. It's different for everybody. And also it's not selfish. It's actually for others because you show up as a better version of yourself when you are doing things for you and filling your cup. So, what was your motivation, I guess, to start Leansquad? Because I'm a squatty and that
Yeah.
is part of my self care, and why I'm really excited to talk to you. Yeah, what was your motivation to start that? I know obviously it came from rugby too, but I think more so not just Leansquad, the app, but Leansquad, the community.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, when I was a professional rugby player, so I played in England, but I was, born in Canada, and rugby is, very few people know of rugby in North America.
Totally,
So
yeah.
my kind of dream of becoming a professional rugby player overseas was, probably by many laughed at, and seemed impossible. But
Mm,
my kind of advantage, I thought, was exercise and being able to push myself, and try and get an edge that way and be the fittest, the strongest, the fastest. And so I always loved that side of the training.
mm,
And believe it or not, a lot of athletes don't. But for me, it wasn't just going to get me closer to my goals, but it made me feel so much better. Like, I can't imagine, because it's been part of my life so long now, but especially as a parent, not having it a part of my routine, because you can drop all the physical benefits, but the mental side of things, like how much more energy you have, the
mhm,
clarity, the sense of calmness, the stress release. Like, I think all of these things are so beneficial, and a lot of times they're not really talked about. So I
mhm,
think, when I started Leansquad, that was really the way I wanted to lean. I didn't want to show, me bench pressing 500 pounds. Not that I can do that, but you know what I mean? Like, a lot of
Yeah.
the crazy exercises you'll see people doing backflips and all this stuff. I just wanted to break it down, into really basic inspiration, I guess, where if I can inspire one person to exercise a little more, because it's going to make them feel better, not look better.
Mhm.
Again, that stuff will always come, but I think it's too much at the forefront of a lot of the messaging. Whereas I like to lean on the the benefits outside of that, again, your energy, your confidence, which is huge. Your sleep's going to be better. So much is going to change if you exercise. So that was really my mission, and eating well goes along with that,
Totally.
in a balanced way. I think like extreme restriction is, really, really detrimental. It makes you hate your journey.
Mhm.
And if you look at it over the long term versus the short term, you're always going to be better off. So, of course, when I do a challenge, I have one coming up, but when I do a challenge, there is always a short term focus. But my goal, I don't say it out loud too often, but is to try and get them just to get through, even if they do 50% of it, so they can do the next one and the next one, and then they can keep it rolling as a part of their lifestyle versus, these huge peaks and valleys that a lot of people experience on their health and fitness journey throughout their life, right? One
Totally.
time they're really riding high, they
Mhm.
haven't had a carb for 2 months, and then all of a sudden they go off the wagon. So for
Yep.
me, it's kind of the holistic picture and just trying to really get people to make the most out of life, because I think a huge part of that is exercising. You're going to get so much more out of life, guaranteed, if you have it as a part of your routine.
I love that. I remember even in the early days of Mike and I dating, maybe early, like when we were engaged, I feel anytime I was stressed, he'd be like, "Did you work out today?" And I used to be so mad, like, I would get really angry at him, like, "Who do you think you are?" And then I started realizing, "Oh my gosh, I am a nicer person when I've done a workout." Like, I'm kinder, I'm more motivated, like, just a better overall person.
No, it's like crazy because it sounds so counterintuitive. This
Mhm.
weekend, like the weekends recently, now that the four boys are all moving, they're like, it's like
Mhm.
running a marathon carrying four goats on your back.
Yeah.
Um, but with all the sports, and then we finally got back after all this sports and activities, and then we got Ashton down for his nap, and I'm like, Brody, I'm gonna work out. I was so tired, but I got my workout done. It was about 35 minutes, and I, honest to God, felt like a new person. It's like it was just so crazy, so much more energy, way less stressed. And again, it sounds impossible because you're expending energy during your workout, but your body miraculously gives you so much more, and
Mhm.
just a sense of calmness and happiness and a better mood and everything that comes with it.
I love it. So tell us a little bit about the challenges, because you briefly said challenges, but I think that that helped me get into becoming a squatty. So yeah, share with us a little bit about what the challenges are, and maybe talk a little bit too about the timing of your workouts, because I absolutely love, like in my mind, after becoming a mom, I was like, I don't have an hour and a half to give up of my time. Like that's just not achievable for me. That's not realistic to drive to the gym, to park, to work out for an hour, to drive home. Like it's not going to happen. And so I love how accessible Leansquad is. So maybe you can share that with us.
Yeah, I think, so the longest workout challenge or program you can do in my, I guess, fitness catalog or app, is 35 minutes. So that's a strength based series of workouts, but the vast majority are 30 minutes, some as short as 15 minutes. And I think, again, it's finding what works for your lifestyle. But I do structure it a lot as in lean challenges, is what I call them, because I think, human psychology is they like a short term challenge, right? That
Yep.
commitment. But again, my low key goal is to just get you into the challenge. And then if I can guide you through, to the end of that challenge, whether you've done 100% of the workouts or whether you've done 40%, I just want to see if you're feeling better, and then push you into the next program and the next program. And, I think, people have been going for, I think the longest is like 5 years since I started.
Amazing.
So it's really amazing, and I think that ultimately is the goal, the long term picture. But again, I think like the challenges I do launch, like I'll be launching a 21-day lean challenge for the summer,
Mm,
and that is going to be a 21-day challenge. But again, it's to really kickstart you if you've been feeling unmotivated, and then by the end of the challenge, I guarantee you're going to feel way better than you did before. Um,
totally.
and that's what's going to hopefully motivate you to keep it going, whether it's 2 workouts a week, 4 workouts a week, or 6 different days of different types of movement a week, whatever
Mhm.
makes you feel your best and fits within your lifestyle, I guess.
I love that because you're right. Not everybody has every day to give up. And I think that that was my problem. Like, I'm an all or nothing person. So
Mm.
I think I just kind of fell off because I was like, well, if I can't work out every day and if I can't lose however many pounds, then then I just can't do anything.
Yeah,
But I
yeah,
love that these challenges that really did help me because I'm like 21 days for sure I can do it. And sure, some weeks I didn't,
yeah.
but at least I was getting on there. It was motivating me. Your app gives a little notification of like, hey, maybe it's time to work out. I'm like, okay, you're right. Here we go.
Easy, Phil, easy.
I love that. Kate, also dying to know, are your, Vegas bachelor friends still squatties?
Yes, yes. Quite a few of them are. Some
Amazing.
not. Some, it's crazy. I think, like, as I'm sure you know, when you get thrown, like when you're pre-kids, life is so different
So
versus
different.
kids. So I think like everyone's navigating. I've got a couple who have been diehard squatties since day one, and they've got multiple kids, and they've been
Oh,
rocking it. So they're the OGs of the Lean Squad for sure.
I love it. That's so awesome. So I've seen some of your videos of you working out with your children around or even, cold plunging with your kids outside with you. How do you think that practicing this type of self-care and movement and, just doing things for you in front of your children and also maybe explaining that to them plays a role in their lives, or impacts them?
I think huge. I honestly,
Mhm.
if you've seen my granddad, I posted a video of him
Mhm.
like exercising. He's 82 now. My nanny is 80 years old. Those are the two people, they kind of were like second parents to me, raising myself and my brother. They never stopped moving. Like I can't explain to you. They were always building houses, walking everywhere. My granddad, would run. He ran a marathon in his work boots. Like he's
Oh
just,
my gosh.
one of the strongest willed people. But both of them value movement and exercise so much. Like my granddad still does 500 push-ups 4 times a week.
Holy smokes.
Exercises all the time. But I think it was seeing how capable he was. It was like looking at Superman and being like, wow, that's I literally have Superman raising me
Aw.
as a parent. And I think for my kids and for any parent really, you have the opportunity to inspire your kids. I truly believe it. And
Mhm.
if they see you sitting on the couch, eating bad food, watching TV all day, what do you think they're going to grow up wanting to do? That's exactly what they're going to want to do. So um, I try and do as much. Brody and I do as much as we can in front of them.
Mhm.
Again, it's a work in progress. We're not perfect. Sometimes we're looking at our phones, and I've got to like wake up and be like, man, we don't we've taken away the TV from them and iPads. So
Mhm.
we also have to make sure we're holding our end of the bargain. But in terms of fitness, I think the more they see it, the more they're going to want to do it, and that is something I want them to do so much. I want them to value it as a part of their lifestyle, because again, I think every aspect of your life is going to be better. I 100% believe it. I've never seen a study that says exercise has any negative impacts. Mental
Mhm.
health, physical
Totally.
health, everything gets better, and your life will ultimately be better. So, by doing it in front of them, I think it's just a huge win. And I would encourage any parent, even if it slows your workout and it cuts it in half, it's still, the big picture is you've inspired them a little bit, and down the road,
Mhm.
it's going to pay off big time.
It's so true because I mean, that inspired me a lot because I used to think that the only way I could work out was if I had time away from my kids,
Mhm.
or the only way that I could cold plunge. Like, I used to always think like, "Oh, I can only do it after they're at school if I come back home after that." And it started to be, like, so silly to me. Like, why am I thinking that way? I don't know why we have that in us to think that it has to be separate from our relationship with our children.
Yeah, I think it's just like I know it's a hard one, I guess, because as parents, if you're being completely honest, you want some alone time. Probably
Truth.
that's probably
Yeah.
what it is. But the way I look at it is like, look, if I can't do it without them, like it's better to do it with them. I think
Mhm.
again, um, part of my message and what I try hopefully to convey is that one rep is better than no reps. And
Hmm,
so if I have all 3 or 4 kids down here working out with me and I only get 10 minutes done, that's better than nothing, right?
truth.
And what's the
Mhm.
alternative? There's no one going to be able to watch all 4 kids while I work out. So,
Yeah.
again, beggars can't be choosers. So I think reminding yourself of that, and again, thinking that or remembering that you're going to be inspiring them as well. It really does add a lot of value.
Your cup of joy is brought to you by my go to snack, Humble Potato Chips. Not only are these chips the perfect snack, they are also a female founded Canadian company. And the owner, Alicia, and her family started their business here in Guelph, Ontario. They are the only certified organic potato chip brand in North America. And the even bigger bonus, Humble Potato Chips are sustainable and they are doing good. For every bag of Humble chips sold, they remove the equivalent of 2 bags worth of plastic from nature and the ocean. The team then turns the plastic into eco bricks and are building homes and schools in underprivileged communities. How stinking cool. Enjoy your favorite snack and know that you are doing good when you purchase. Do yourself a favor and mix my 2 favorite flavors, ketchup and barbecue, for the best snack ever. Enjoy. Totally. Yeah, I agree with that a lot actually, and it definitely changed my entire perspective, I think, of working out. Now, do you see that there's um like maybe not boundaries, but how do you introduce maybe working out and like healthy lifestyle to your kids without um like in a healthy way, I guess?
Yeah, that's a hard one. I think again, like I always try and kind of evaluate what we're doing, just reflecting whenever I can. Um, and I think it's just like subtly reinforcing. I like to play on like the confidence thing. I think,
Mm.
confidence is such a huge attribute to have in life. I think in all aspects, if you're confident within reason, not outrageous, but
Yeah.
just belief in yourself. And I think a
Mhm.
lot of that comes from movement. It comes from eating healthy. Obviously our kids have snacks. They had McDonald's many a time, and it's just educating them on the balance. So,
Yeah.
you know, food's probably a really hard one. Our kids eat relatively well. Like we can definitely tackle. We try and get like breakfast, we try and nail that, with eggs and fruit and all that stuff. Lunch, it's hit or miss, and then dinner again. But it's
Mhm.
all about like I think it's just repetition and understanding.
True.
Kids are kids. They're
Yeah.
one day they might eat their eggs, one day they might spit them out and say they're the
Oh
worst,
my
even though
gosh.
they're the exact same.
Yeah.
But the more you stick with it, and the more effort you're willing to put in, I think it's ultimately always going to come down to effort. It's like exercise or
Mhm.
anything. The hard things in life are hard,
True.
and the things that are worthwhile are going to take a ton of effort. So for us, like taking that effort to make their breakfast instead of, just pulling something out of a package. And again, it might not work, it might work, but you got to keep trying, I think.
Mhm. And you guys inspired me too, actually, to include my kids in the preparation. I used to always think that I needed to like prep dinner while they're napping and make sure that I have it all together like beforehand. But after I have a very picky child, and after
Okay.
reading a lot about it and talking to my doctor and whatever, I've learned that involving them in that process and cooking with them is part of it for them. And even last night, like asparagus, they love prepping with me because they just like pop the ends off and they
Yeah,
think
yeah,
it's
yeah.
fun. And yesterday, I cooked dinner while the kids were outside playing in the yard. And Oscar came inside and saw that asparagus was for dinner. And he was so angry that he didn't help me make it. Like he really connected that.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
think
yeah.
it's cool the impact that we do have on our kids and the ability to like share the entire process with them, not just, eating dinner
No,
is
totally.
part of
Like
it.
our twins try and cook. Ashton as well tries to cook with us all the time.
No
So
way.
yeah, our twins are the exact same. Like if we do the smoothie in the morning, like try and get it out of the way really quick.
Yeah.
Like it was a couple days ago, exact same thing though. I made it and they were so angry they didn't get to help.
Isn't
And
it funny?
it does show you that they have their smoothie every single morning, and it's probably just such a part of their routine and something they love being a part of,
Mhm.
that again they really value it, and it helps them eat well and follow in your footsteps.
Mhm. And I think even though it does, like you said, it slows you down similar to working out, like, doing things with kids definitely is not as efficient,
Yeah.
but I think there's times in life where not being as efficient is actually beneficial.
Yeah, and I think, what I try and remind myself too, again, I'm not perfect. There's days when I'm very frustrated, but I
Mhm.
think it's reminding yourself that this is like a very short window of your life, like very, very short. And again, Ashton is like the best reminder. I can't explain to you how it's just like it sometimes makes me really sad because I'm like, oh my God, it's nearly all over. That stage of raising kids is nearly all over. But it's a great reminder to make the most of it. And
Mhm.
that's something my granddad would say is life is very, very short. And if you don't make
Mhm.
the most of it, it'll be, you'll have a lot of regrets when the time comes.
Totally, and I love that you share that though with us because it does sometimes it's just not top of mind, you know? I find it a lot of parenthood, especially the early days, as survival mode. Like, there are many times where I feel like I just completely blacked out because I was really just surviving.
Yeah,
And so, yeah, I think now when it is top of mind, like, even just from watching a couple of videos or seeing other kids become involved, it helps to show me, like, okay, I need to involve them. I need to slow down. I need to do these things. So I think it's
totally.
awesome you're sharing that. You briefly said this very quickly, but I do want to talk to you about this because it's a controversial hot topic. No screen time. You took screens out and you did it cold turkey. How
Yeah.
did you do this? What are the benefits? Are you regretting any of your decisions? Tell me everything.
Oh, this was, you know what it was? I think, so we took away the iPads a long time ago. Well, for the twins in particular, like we were up in the cottage. So this is a year ago.
Mhm.
And early into our stint in the cottage, we raised Hudson, I'm not going to say on an iPad, but never, ever, ever gave it a second thought. I was like, there's, I could never imagine not being an iPad parent because
Mm.
it gave us a break, when we needed it.
Yeah.
And we did the same with the twins. As they got a little older, we got two more iPads and they would get used to watching them when we were at the cottage. And then at the cottage, it was just becoming an issue where
Mm.
we were starting to see, I think iPads are different than TV, in my opinion. They can change. It's like you can see their brains working overtime
Mm.
to constantly be entertained. It's like TikTok. You just want to go to the next video, and they would just get more and more irritable. So then we pulled them away, and they did great. And we had no TV, but then we came back to home, and it was kind of TV started becoming the issue. Probably from like 6 to 6:30 every morning. They would wake up, and our reaction as parents was just turn on the TV. They might not have been watching the TV the whole time, but it was
Yeah.
on until daycare, which was like 9. And then when they woke up from their nap, 3:30 to kind of 6, it was
Mhm.
on again. Not necessarily watching it, but definitely on, and it was
Background.
always a crutch. And so fast forward to kind of like, I guess in February we went to Turks and Caicos and we hopped on the plane and we were like, we're going to give them the iPads, which they haven't had for nearly a year at the time.
Mhm.
um, on the plane ride, and they were obsessed. They were amazing on the plane. They didn't make a peep, so it was great from that point of
Yeah.
view. But we got to Turks and Caicos, and the first thing they asked, we're at this like beautiful resort, amazing weather, and they're like, "Can we have our iPads?" And I was like, "Oh my god!" That
Yeah.
was just like the light bulbs went off. I'm like, these things are so addictive for
Totally.
kids. They can't control it.
Mhm.
Adults can barely control themselves on their phone. So how do you
1000%.
expect, a young child to control himself with the iPad?
Mhm.
So, anyways, we got back from that trip and I was still like jaded. Brody, not as much. She's much calmer than me, but I was like, oh my God, it's killing me. And they were asking for their TV and the TV was on. And then one morning, I don't know what they did, but I'm like, Brody, I'm not turning the TV on today. And she's like, okay. And she thought it would last the morning
Yeah.
if we were lucky.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. And like after 5 minutes, they just started playing. And I'm like, okay, we're definitely not turning it on when we come back. And then one day turned into 2, and then 2 days turned into 3, and now I don't even know. It's probably been like 3 or 4 months now.
Wow.
And I would say unequivocally, it was the best thing for our kids.
Mhm.
I understand every person's different, but
Sure.
um, they weren't. I think they were no different than other kids on their screens,
Mhm.
but I think the changes that we've seen have been so amazing. Watching them play every morning, no one ever asks for a TV show. they'll come and get their own cups of water. They'll come and get their breakfast. They'll be a part of making breakfast or dinner or whatever it is, versus they used to be posted up on the couch. They would scream, "Get me some water," and that would like
Yeah.
kill me. and
Yeah.
and Brody, and now they're just like way more, they're less tantrums, they're happier, better moods, less erratic. Like it it's pretty mind-boggling in my opinion. I would be the biggest advocate of it. And I think there's so much evidence now that screens, you
Mhm.
look at teenagers, they're the unhappiest kids generation ever. And I think
Totally.
a lot of it has to do with what's on the screens and the
Mhm.
excessive screen time. So I think just for any parent, I would say try it,
Yeah.
commit to it, and every kid will be different. But if you see it through, again, it's like anything, like I said,
Mhm.
hard things require, effort, but those
Mhm.
are the worthwhile things. And I think
Yeah.
seeing them off the screen, seeing how much they play now, how like their bonds have gotten stronger, it's being the best thing ever.
Totally. I couldn't agree more. We bought iPads for our kids when we traveled, and the best thing I ever did was tell them that iPads only work on airplanes.
Oh,
So
yes.
they only have their iPads on airplanes,
Yeah.
and they've never experienced it elsewhere, and
Yeah.
that's just, like, how it is, and I'm so grateful because it occupies them, but
Yeah.
then we don't have to deal with it, because I do think you're right, like, iPads and TV are a little bit different. We are not screen free in our household, but we are screen limited and
Yeah.
trying. Um, and I just think one thing you said earlier in this chat too was that like you have to live up the bargain on your end too. Like you also have to do it. And I think that's a hard thing as a parent is okay, I don't want my kids to watch TV, but like I'll be on my phone around them. And that's something that we struggle with a lot, especially like you're working, it's an addiction, you're used to like it's habit, and I've really been trying to keep my phone somewhere else after school when they're home, have a few hours of time together where we all are screen free. And that's difficult. It's difficult to implement.
Yeah, it's really hard. I mean, Brody's always been way better than me. I would say during like my peak work, my phone was, so bad. I
Mhm.
was just staring down, head down. And now I kind of do what you say. Like I have to have my phone physically away. So like I'll
Yeah.
throw it in a drawer. I'll leave it in the basement.
Mm.
If it's in my pocket, um, I would go grab for it, or even I just like think about it in my pocket. So
Yeah.
um, it's one of those things where I think you got to practice what you preach. And
Mhm.
I think obviously as a parent, if you're working, like I work a lot on my phone, as I'm sure you do, it's
Totally.
trying to do it away from the kids instead of in front of them. And like,
Mhm.
certain things can just wait, and that's ultimately what I try and focus on. But again, I'm nowhere near perfect. I'm trying
Totally.
to get better. And I think a huge thing for me is just leave my phone. And I read a really interesting book where it's called Bad Therapy. It's a little bit
Mm.
controversial, but one of the things they talk about is our constant need as parents to know where our kids are. And now there's no, you know, they have no freedom. They have no sense of self agency, because we're always monitoring them. And I think the phones are such a big part of that. So again, you know, I can leave the house without my phone and the world's not going to explode. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And I
Yeah.
think it's again practicing that kind of practice what you preach.
Yeah, that's so interesting because I do often think back to times when like if Mike leaves the house to get groceries or something and I realize, "Oh, we're missing this." Like I'll call him and can immediately get a hold of him, and the times that he doesn't answer because his phone's on silent or something, I'm like, "Well, why do you even have a phone?" I'll
Yeah,
get like mad about it.
yeah, yeah.
And then I'm like, "What about when I was like our parents didn't have this?"
I know,
Like
I
it was
know.
fine. It turned out fine.
Totally. Yeah, I think that's, when I was growing up, same as you, I'm sure you hop on your bike and you go to 7-Eleven, and now parents would be pulling out their hair, wondering if they've got hit by a car or
Yeah,
whatever. And, this book, again, it had some interesting thoughts, but some of it is like the world's no more dangerous than ever. If anything, it's way more dangerous being on Instagram as a child, right? Like,
totally.
and I think it's giving, like I try, and Brody, we really try and encourage our kids to be like confident in little tasks, and giving them
Mhm.
that self-confidence as they age, because I think a lot of kids have had their parents oversee everything as
Mhm.
they grow older, and then when they become adults, they're not confident in so many aspects of their life, whether it's like going to a restaurant and ordering off a menu, talking to a waiter because their parents have ordered for them. I think there's all these little habits that end up having big negative consequences over long term. So I'm certainly a big advocate for giving our kids like self agency, and trying to instill that confidence through these little steps as they grow older.
I love that. Our kids go to Montessori school, so I'm all about teaching independence, having autonomy. Like, it's funny because if you're not on the same page as other people around your kids, sometimes it can be like, "Oh, no, like, we don't do that." Like, my mom, for instance, was watching our kids and they had their shoes on the wrong feet, and then the other kid had his shorts on backwards, and she's like, "Ariana, like, his shoes are on the wrong feet and his shorts are backwards or inside out or whatever." And I was like, "Yeah, but they dress themselves.
Yeah,
Like, they're happy and they're proud of themselves. I'm not gonna tell them it's wrong.
yeah,
Like, that's
yeah,
fine. It's not hurting them." And
yeah.
so it's funny how everybody is so different, but I just believe that that instills confidence in them. Like, my son is so happy that he can get up and get dressed without me touching him or helping him at all. And even though he looks like a mess and his clothes don't match and his shoes are on backwards, I don't care.
Yeah.
You know, he's so proud of himself.
No, that's the exact same as our twins. I think when they started getting themselves dressed, it was like 100% of the time their shirts were on backwards, exact
Yeah.
same as you. Like, I don't know how you think it'd be a 50-50 time, 50-50 chance their shirt would be on the right way, but it was
Yeah.
100% on the wrong way, and shoes on the wrong foot every single time.
Always.
They
Always.
are so proud and they can do that on their own, whereas a lot of kids, can't. So no, we're the same. We're really proud when they do these little things that might seem silly or might not seem like a big deal, but for us, again, I think self confidence as you
Mhm.
grow older is so imperative, because if you don't have it, you
Mhm.
start to go within yourself and you start to retract. And I've seen that with some other kids that we know, and it's just not a direction that we really want to try and avoid.
Totally, and sometimes we don't give kids enough credit of like, they really do understand. Like, my twins are 3, and Axel, maybe like a month ago, we were doing an activity, and he one time hadn't, like, put a little puzzle piece in correctly, and he was like, "No, mommy, I'm not very good at this. I can't do it very well." And I was like, had to really focus on then instilling that confidence and letting him know when he did things right, and if he didn't, that he could try again, and it's okay to not always do it correct. Um, but hearing him vocalize that at 3, like, I was like, "Holy shit." It was like an aha moment for me to be like, "Wow." Like, they hear everything, they see everything, they probably saw me saying that I couldn't do or that I messed up or didn't do something well or whatever, and we're reflecting on that when it happened to them. So, we do have a huge impact on our kids.
No, massively. I mean, I couldn't agree with that more. I think that's another thing my granddad and my parents instilled in me was like being okay with failing, I guess, if that makes sense. And
Yep,
I truly believe there's no such thing as failure unless you don't try. Trying's the
totally.
only way to guarantee you're going to fail. And so we certainly try with all our boys to make sure that they're willing to do uncomfortable things. And if it doesn't work out, you've learned something and you can try again.
Mhm.
Hudson on the weekend, he plays flag football, and he's really good at quarterback, but he always on game day doesn't want to play quarterback because he's scared. He's just nervous.
Aw.
It's like we'll play out front. He's got a great throw. But finally this weekend, I was like, look, I don't care what happens. If you try it, we'd be so proud of you. And he told the coach for the offense that he wanted to try. He threw an intercept the first play, his first pass, but we were celebrating like it was, the Tom Brady throwing a touchdown, because
Aw.
I think it's the effort that he put in, the
Mhm.
willingness to put himself out there, and he wasn't even phased. Now he's like looking forward to next week because he got the scariest
Aw.
part over. The worst thing happened,
Yeah,
and it's not life ending. And so again, I think it's really trying to instill that in your children is a big win.
I love that so much. I can't remember where I heard this, but fail forward. Like,
Yes,
failing
yeah,
is okay because you do learn from it. That's
totally.
amazing. I have asked this question to a few people lately, and I've been really reflecting on it and what this statement means. It's kind of like a trendy thing that people say, I feel, and then people have many different thoughts on it. But what does the statement "it takes a village" mean to you?
Ooh, it takes a village. Well, I can tell you what, Brody is definitely our village. It takes Brody to keep us all together, my wife. I think it's just, and this is probably from personal experience. I think a lot of times, I would take the onus that like I would have to do everything on my own, certainly like work wise. And I think
Mhm.
that just makes stress compound, and it adds so much undue pressure. Like getting help
Totally.
is not a sign of weakness. I think that's probably how I'd explain it.
Mhm.
And the more you can work together with your village, whether it's your partner, your parents, your grandparents,
Mhm.
friends, family, um, it'll help you. It'll help you mentally, physically, emotionally. And I think for me, again, it's accepting that that's not a weakness. Like,
Mhm.
and to be really open to that help. And so we get a lot of help, and again, Brody is always helping me, and now I'm trying to reciprocate as much as I can, and take
Love it.
pressure off her.
Mhm.
But again, it's like always a work in progress. And I think perfection isn't the goal. It's just
Mhm.
trying to be better every day. So yeah, I think for the village, I think you got to embrace it and try and build yours, and try and accept that help as a really good thing.
Totally. I love that. And I think it's so impactful for our kids. Like I as a child had a babysitter like before school, after school, and she's still in my life. So I think that those relationships are really neat for kids to be able to have relationships with people that aren't their family but feel like family. Um and I just think that's so awesome. I've seen lately you posting some things of your kids playing with other kids in the neighborhood. And to me, that looks like a village. Like to me, for kids to know that they have people in their lives that they can walk out of their front door and play with and spend time with and learn from is just so powerful and so special.
Totally. I mean, again, back in the day when we thought I was going to build this house and we were going to, essentially flip it and move, we could never imagine leaving our neighborhood now because of exactly
Oh.
that. We've got a village on our street, and the twins the other day asked. There's a couple in particular with three kids that we're very, very close with now, and they asked if they were our family because we've been spending so much time with them. So
Oh,
I think
my heart.
it really is. It really is so important.
That is so special. I really, really love that. Okay, lastly, I want to talk about something so cool that you guys just launched. Tape her and tape him. Tell me all the things. How did this come about? Why? And give us just like a brief background of mouth taping because I know a lot, but I have not practiced it.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is something we were really passionate about. It was our first ever product, I guess, outside of Leansquad, like a physical product.
Mhm.
And basically, we got this sleep tracker. This is from Whoop. It's by far the best sleep tracker out there available. I've had all of them and tested all
Oh,
of them. I have an Apple Watch right here, which remains off because this is so good. And
okay.
Brody and I absolutely love this. So we became obsessed with our sleep, and all of the top professionals now in health and fitness, they put kind of exercise here and sleep right on par. Like sleep
Huh.
is kind of the fountain of youth.
Yep.
It's the only time your body can really regenerate. And without it, there's so many negative consequences. So we got this,
Mhm.
and we started testing different things. So it allows you to see if, for example, magnesium before bed improves your sleep.
Huh.
And you can kind of it's very easy to track. Like a little journal populates every single morning, and you can kind of see over time in a really easy way what is working, what's not working. And we were making a little bit of progress with regards to our sleep and our quality improving. Like I could not get above 2 hours of restorative sleep, which combines basically your REM and deep sleep, and that's the most
Mhm.
crucial part of your sleep. So much good stuff happens during that time, and without it, you're going to be tired. Metabolism's going to be flipped upside down. Your hormones are going to be all over the place. You're going to be grumpy. Like the list is on and on.
Totally.
And most parents can attest to this. when you're
Sounds
sleep
like me.
deprived when you're sleep deprived, you do not enjoy life. So
Truthfully.
I honestly thought, after trying this for a while, I was like, you know what, maybe I'm just kind of one of those people who can't get above 2 hours. It is what it is. And we have four kids, and that's life. And
Mhm.
then we kind of hit a breaking point where, like, I heard on a podcast about mouth taping and the benefits. And then I read this book called Breath about nasal breathing. And I was like, you know what? this seems absolutely insane, because the company I'd seen was called Hostage Shape, and it like covers your whole face. It looks like you're literally a hostage taping your mouth.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Brody, I think I'm gonna try mouth taping. And she's like, no way, that's psycho. And so I tried it, and almost instantly my sleep skyrocketed. Like,
Wow.
usually in like the medical industry, fitness, if you make like a 5% gain in something, that's big. I've got my restorative sleep from 2 hours to over 4 hours now. So over a
Over
hundred
double.
percent increase, which is absolutely insane. And
Crazy.
so Brody was like, I got to try this. She tried it. Same thing. She can get she got over 6 hours of restorative sleep, which is like,
Wow.
I don't even know how that's possible. Um,
Yeah.
so we started feeling like new people. Like, even though we would go to sleep, we would wake up feeling tired. Like, even
Mm.
the moment I open my eyes, I'm like, oh my God, I just want to inhale a coffee. Why am I so tired?
Literally me.
Yeah. And so we started we tried the mouth taping, but the problem was we found a lot of them we didn't love. Like, Brody's skin's pretty sensitive. Again, they cover your whole face. Some would
Mhm.
fall off, some were poor quality. So Brody was kind of like, I want to, she was making shapes with different mouth tapes that we try, and she's like, I want to make one that's smaller and fits better and feels better, because she likes to put lip gloss on her
Me
mouth before
too.
bed.
Mhm.
And so she's got the skincare routine that she needs to uphold. And so she started tweaking with things, and then I started helping her out. And then, long story short, we decided to make our own mouth tape that we thought, would kind of be the best one out there. And that was how Tape Her and Tape Him was born. And it's something we're really, really proud of. I think, honestly, it's the best mouth tape. And I think mouth taping is life changing, literally, especially for anyone, parents, if you're a mouth breather like Brody and I were. I
Mhm.
never thought there was an issue with mouth breathing, but
Yeah.
by promoting nasal breathing, it changes everything. You get into a far deeper sleep. There's way less wake events. And we wouldn't have done this had we not tracked our sleep and seen the literal difference. Like, this isn't just hoo ha, like we feel better. It's like we've seen the numbers.
Mhm.
There's also amazing books out there about mouth taping, nasal breathing, which is what mouth taping promotes. And it's just something we're so passionate about, because we think, I truly believe, if you sleep better, you're going to feel better as a parent. Your relationship's going to be better. Your
Mhm.
parenting's going to be better. Your friendships are going to be better. Everything's going to be better, because you're just a
Everything.
happy person. So
Yeah.
it's really, really exciting. It's been amazingly received so far, and we're
Oh.
excited to kind of to grow it and hopefully expose more people to it, because it was so life changing for us.
That's amazing. I can't wait to try your mouth tape specifically. My dentist has been telling me about mouth taping for years, and Mike, like both of us are supposed to be doing it. It used to, even for kids, like she was like, "Oh, people think it's so cute when your kids like sleeping with their mouth open. We take pictures like, "Oh my god, it's so
Yeah,
cute." But she's like, it's actually so bad for like all of their development, like facial development, like
totally.
their body. You can reduce like the chiropractic care you need. Your oral health
Yeah,
is so impacted by mouth breathing. I clench at night and I have soft teeth. So like my cavities, my fillings like fall out all the time. I have cavities all the time. It's just like genetically how my teeth are, I guess. And she told me that by mouth taping, I could probably reduce it by like a drastic amount. So I think it can impact so many ways, but I wasn't aware of the sleep impact. So
yeah. Well, I think, like, what we talk about is the sleep the most, because I think a lot of people do know about the other benefits, but again, I think like sleep is so life changing. But there are so many benefits, like you said, like
totally.
the oral health, your facial structure, men,
Hmm.
women, kids, that's massive. Your eyes, like, it's kind of one of those things that sounds too good to be true, but
Hmm.
had we not done it and measured it, we wouldn't be here. But luckily we did, and I
So cool.
really, really recommend it to anyone, because, um, yeah, I mean, I just never ever thought anything could work as well as this has worked.
I love that so, so much. Okay, to end off, Phil, we're going to ask some rapid fire questions if that's okay.
Okay, fire away.
Okay, go to coffee order.
Ooh, black Americano,
Oh, me
or
too.
or a cold brew, depending on season.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Hidden talent.
hidden talent. Oh, wow. I don't have many talents, much less a hidden one. Hidden, um, if I have too many drinks, I think I'm a good dancer.
Oh, buddy. Favorite way to stay active?
Definitely weights, strength training.
Ooh. Guilty pleasure?
Chips. So like Pringles, all dressed chips,
Oh.
and ramen noodles. That would be kind of like
Oh,
my go-to. Yeah, for sure.
amazing. And favorite food? You just kind of
Oh,
answered.
this is sushi or Indian, probably. I know it's a bit
Yum.
contrasting, but one
I
one of
love
those.
it. Amazing. Well, Phil, thank you so much for joining us. For everyone listening, you can follow along Phil's journey on Instagram at Leansquad. He also has a website, leansquad.com, and you can download the Leansquad app. You can also find the mouth tape her on Instagram at tape her sleep.
Amazing. Thank you
Thank
so
you so,
much.
so much.